Welcome to the Purposeful CEO podcast, the space for passionate, driven leaders who aren't just here to build a business, but to lead a movement. If you're here to make a real impact, to lead with purpose and create a legacy that lasts, then you are in the right place. I'm Emma Campbell, leadership coach, mindset mentor, purpose activator, and mama to two cheeky little munchkins. And for the past 15 years, I've helped small business CEOs scale their team without breaking their culture and unlock their team's full potential. And my mission has always been simple: to help those doing good in the world to do even more good and inspire belief in what's possible for you, because it's all so possible. Let each episode be your reminder to pause from the hustle and come back to you, your why, your purpose, your reason for why you started, to trust that inner knowing and to lead from that place, because when you do, everyone wins. Let's dive in. Good morning, beautiful people. So happy to be here. I've got a little bit of a different one for you today, ever so slightly different anyway. And today is on the heart of purpose. And this little idea bubble floated into my brain and would not leave me the last couple of weeks. And so I knew it was a topic that I needed to share on. And it's a topic that I feel like will just be so beautifully relevant for almost every single one of you guys out there. And it's on the topic of purpose, and it's on the topic of my belief that your greatest pain in life becomes your greatest purpose. And let me explain. So where did this come from in the first place? So if you are an Imperfects podcast listener, you probably would have caught Hugh's letter where he speaks, and Hugh is the host of the Imperfects podcast, which is basically a podcast all about stories of resilience, stories of truth, people getting raw and vulnerable and really expressing the truth of who they are underneath all the layers. And he often brings on like people who are incredibly successful on the outside, so really, really celebrated in society, and he gives them a platform to be able to speak the truth of what's actually going on the inside, just to like really normalize the fact that even those people that we put on a pedestal are still human and still struggling with all of their imperfections. Really, really, truly wonderful podcast. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. And Hugh, on one of the recent episodes, writes an open letter where he speaks about his experience with I guess recognizing and being informed that one of his children has been diagnosed with autism. And it's basically a story and a letter about his own personal experience of the struggles that he has faced as a parent in parenting a child with autism, and the struggles and the difficulties with society, our understanding of autism, and basically it's a really, really raw, open, vulnerable and emotional letter that would have probably most people in tears by the end of it. And one of the things that really got me thinking afterwards was so one of Hugh's friends is Hamish Blake, who you've probably heard of, the comedian, very well-known comedian. And Hamish Blake was speaking to Hugh afterwards and, just like really acknowledging the experience that he's going through, the letter that he'd written, all of that. And Hamish Blake said something that I thought was really important and really significant. And it was kind of one of the things that sparked this podcast episode today. And he said to Hugh, this will be your most important work if you choose it to be. This will be your most important work if you choose it to be. And so what was Hamish referring to there? basically what he was referring to was the fact that this painful, incredibly painful and difficult experience that Hugh is going through, if he chose it to be, and of course we are never forced into these paths, right? But if Hugh decides to rise to that particular challenge, or to accept that kind of life path or that career path, that this could be some of the most life-changing work that he gets to move through and share with the world in his whole life experience. And I thought just the way that Hamish summed that up was so beautiful and perfect in terms of speaking to something that I believe to be true when it comes to your own purpose work in life. And that is that I believe that if you choose it to be, and I think that's a really important piece, because not everyone wants to accept that challenge, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you do want to step into your truest, greatest potential purpose path, that often it starts with acknowledging the greatest pain points in your life. And, you know, this is what I came to experience myself in starting my own purpose journey and coming to acknowledge some of the things that have given me the greatest pain in my life, and how the greatest pain became my greatest purpose, became the reason for why I do what I do today, and still to this day fuels the work that I do, that it is the spark, and it is the energy, and it is the fuel. And if you have heard me ever speak about this before, you'll know a little bit of my story. I've sort of shared little bits here and there. But essentially, the greatest pain that I have personally ever witnessed in my life is, as a very sensitive human myself, so very emotionally and energetically sensitive human myself. So highly sensitive, very empathic. If someone around me is struggling mentally or emotionally, I am one of those people, and maybe you are too if you're listening to this podcast, that I physically experience pain in my body as well when I witness others in pain and struggle. And growing up as a child, I had some family members who had a really hard time mentally and emotionally. And when I moved into my later years in kind of university and early work, you might have heard me talk about this, I started to experience quite a lot of emotional and mental health issues as well. Anxiety, overthinking, maybe even some ADHD related symptoms. And so these different periods of my life were incredibly painful. For most of my life, I pushed it down and pretended it wasn't there, and distracted myself, by either keeping myself busy or drinking on the weekends, partying, whatever I could to kind of just, I don't know, like separate myself from that pain, not really knowing what to do with it. And then slowly but surely it hit a period of my life where I started to come to face that pain. It was probably around the same time that I started seeing a therapist. And I guess in the background, what I didn't even realize was occurring, was kind of occurring unconsciously, was that our greatest pain can become our greatest purpose, because we can't help, most of us anyway, but want to find a solution for the greatest pain in our life, right? And so for me, witnessing family members in pain, experiencing it myself, I kind of went on this journey of like epic personal development, reading like all these books about neuroscience and neuroplasticity and the power of the brain to change itself at any period of our lives. I started learning about psychology, about the nervous system. I started learning about mindset and reading all these books about, motivation and how to change your belief system. I started following Joe Dispenza's work, which is all about how to change your identity, how to up-level your energy system. I myself was going to therapy and I was experiencing all the benefits that come from doing all of these different modalities of work. And what happened was that I started to recognize that because there was such pain for me, the depth of our pain almost becomes the extent of the energy of our purpose and our passion, right? It's like the bigger the pain, the more the passion. And all of these parts became what I then was able to infuse into my work with clients, right? And so one of my ultimate unconscious drivers behind everything that I do is to find answers to people's struggles and suffering, to then share those answers with them. Because I often sort of see myself a little bit as a teacher. I feel like I can step into that kind of like that teacher persona quite easily. I love telling people what to do. And so I would find these answers, and then my inner driver behind all of that was to open up people's eyes to what's possible by kind of connecting them with the information that they needed to shift how they saw their ability to heal and change. And so let me give you some examples there. So one of the big ones, for a lot of like the generations before us, there was a really big belief that if you had mental health problems, that the only way to fix them, or often the solution to those issues, was that you had a chemical imbalance in your brain, and therefore the only way to fix that chemical imbalance in your brain would of course have to be a chemical, right? So we have since found that that is not true, and that there are so many other factors involving whether you are experiencing anxiety and depression. But back in the day, that was the only story that was there. And so, of course, there is definitely a place for chemical related treatments, but knowing that we are holistic beings, that we are physical, that we are psychological, that we are energetic, that we are chemical, like what the chemical part to us is only one part of us, right? And so that's only one part to the solution. And so one of the parts that I found myself researching was understanding all the other solutions that were out there, such as seeing a psychologist, such as exercise, such as breath work, such as plant medicine, such as going to see a coach, such as going to see a hypnotherapist, and all of these like other modalities that are out there that have also been shown to work. And so what I then saw my own purpose and my own role in being was to share the answers that I was finding, because ultimately information is power, right? And when we have the options, we can at least make that decision. And that my purpose became to open up people's eyes to what's possible. And also something that is probably just as important is to kind of lead by example, to kind of be the evidence for change, to do the things rather than just talk about the things, and to show people what's possible. Like a really, really big one for me that had a giant change for myself was going to the Perth Brain Centre. If you haven't heard of the Perth Brain Centre and you've been struggling at all with like any sort of mental health difficulty, oh my God, these guys will change your life. So they are basically like the kings and queens of neuroplasticity, and they actively help you rewire your brain for calm, focus, centeredness. And when I had my little girl, Hazy, who knows like exactly what the very specific reason was, but I was struggling quite significantly with emotional and mental health related issues. And whether it was hormonal, from breastfeeding, whether it was just situational, because we had quite a lot of things going on at the time with moving house and building and all of the things, whatever it was a really hard time for me. And that was a point that it was probably at its peak of when I was at my greatest pain. And so my greatest pain in that moment became my greatest motivator. It was like, okay, how can I use this pain to find an answer? How can I because it's all energy, right? Like pain is energy, purpose is energy. Purpose is kind of like this like focused, empowered energy, right? But it's all different types of energy. And my belief is that when you transform your pain into purpose, it's actually a way of healing yourself. So when you can tap into your greatest pain and see it as an opportunity for growth, for change, for possibility, that's when you can really heal yourself and heal the people around you by sharing what you have learnt with them. So I wanted to share a little bit about the kind of, I'm going to call it the formula. I don't know if that's necessarily like the most accurate word, but my flow, my process for unraveling your purpose and helping transform it into your path forward. So identifying what is that thing that I could really get behind? What is that pain, that problem that I would want to solve? And that is actually where we start. So when I guide, and I've done this for big groups of like hundreds of people in schools. I've done this on a one-to-one level. I've actually got a little online program that you can take that walks you through this. I've done it in small online groups, and this is the process that I would take people through. So the first question I would ask you is to get you to identify the pain or the problem that really, really grinds your gears. So I was speaking to a CEO, like a coaching client that I've been working with for years now. And she's kind of moving through a process of, I guess, potentially looking to move on from her business, maybe exiting that particular business, selling that business, moving on to something different. And one of the things she said to me is that, the one most important thing for me moving forward is that I want to find something that is aligned with my authentic true self, and that I want to find something that is my purpose. Like I want to understand what is this purpose work that is here for me, because she knew there was something more there, and she was probably already living it in so many giant ways, but she still had that sense that she hadn't really got to the spark, the essence, the heart, the soul of that purpose. And these were some of the questions that I asked her. I said, my love, the place that we start in finding your purpose is asking, what is your greatest pain? What breaks your heart? What makes you mad? What makes you sad? What brings up some irrationally big emotion in you? And it doesn't even have to be irrationally big, but what are the things that stir you, that move you, that feel like there is something shifting within you when you hear about it, when you learn about it, when you witness it, when you hear someone talk about it? Whether it's, for me, it was seeing other people in mental struggle, trapped in their pain, feeling like there was no way out of it. For others, it's, seeing homelessness, gender inequality, cruelty to animals, mass consumption, climate change, people being treated unfairly in work. Maybe it's drug addiction. Maybe it's the school system and like how our education system is right now for kids. Maybe it's the effect of like food, like bad food on our brain. Like, you'll know by reflecting on when was the last time that you remember yourself feeling truly moved by something that felt like it just really broke your heart. You know, what do you see as broken in the world? What do you see as broken in the world that needs fixing? Maybe it's something in your community. Maybe it's something in your workplace. Maybe it's something in your family. Maybe it's something that you've identified that just doesn't feel right to you. Like something in your internal system, your internal biology just says to you, this is not right and this must change. Because often our bodies are our greatest teachers, right? Like our bodies speak a language that is so different to the words that our brain speaks. It's like our body can often like be trying to move us towards something that our brain just doesn't get. And so these are some of the questions that you would be asking yourself. And once you have identified, there might be a few different things. I would usually encourage you to just choose one, the one that really feels the most emotive, the strongest, the most exciting for you to perhaps make a difference in, the one that just feels like you kind of feel this pull, this tug, this intuitive kind of yearning to want to move towards it. And then you would ask yourself, so first of all, you want to dig a little bit deeper to say, like, why is this something that matters to me? Because usually we don't want to choose something that's just like a generic problem that the world faces. You know, like we all know that climate change is a big issue. And for some of you out there, this might be the thing for you. For me, it's not my thing. Like, I can get behind it and I feel very strongly and passionate about certain parts. And it's also not my purpose. Like, I'm too much of a human-focused, individual, one-to-one focused person. And those kind of like global related issues don't call out to me as strongly as doing more of the personal work. But I know that there are other people out there that the more global issues are the things that call out to them. So you don't want to just choose something that feels like you should focus on that thing. You want to choose the thing that actually really truly calls out to you uniquely. And then you want to ask, how do you think things should be instead? Or how do you think things could be instead? So what is that better future that you see for your area that you have focused on? And why would that future be better? And let me kind of give you an example of how all of this plays out. So if we were flowing this out for me personally, it might be the problem that I saw is people suffering from anxiety, mental health issues, self-doubt, not believing in themselves, not feeling like a lack of significance and meaning in their lives and not knowing a way out of it. And why this matters to me is because I personally have struggled with this, and I've witnessed other people in my life struggle with this, and I hate seeing people in pain. I hate seeing people in pain. It pains me. So really it all comes back to me in the end. How do I think things should be or could be? I think that it's time that people realized their incredible capacity for change. Like, I think that people need to know just how many tools there are out there for transformation and change. And that way, so the better future would be is that if people had all of this knowledge and this capability of their realization to change, that we would have a happier world full of people empowered to change, to reach their potential, to actually live the purpose that they are here for, and ultimately to fulfill the life that they most want to live and not feel stuck and trapped in the life that they don't want to live. So that's how that purpose formula can play out. And I want to read to you something that kind of came through as, I don't even know how to describe it, but a little message that sort of popped into my mind, some really, really clear guidance that I had to write down in the moment. And this was even a couple of years back. And it is about purpose. And it was when I was really deep in this work with a particular client. And this is what I wrote down. Do I believe everyone has a purpose? Yes. However, it depends on how you define purpose. I believe that everyone comes into this world for a reason unique to them, and that when you're pursuing a path that is in line with that reason, that you feel your most authentic and fulfilled self. I believe that when you're in pursuit of that path, you actually feel supported too. Things start just working out for you. Things aren't as hard. You get more energy and ideas start flowing to you. I think purpose is always about growth. Growth in an area that your soul is ready for. Purpose is a feeling. Purpose is a cause. Purpose is giving and receiving simultaneously. Purpose is the essence of life. It's your reason, your fuel. It's something completely selfless, yet so deliciously selfish. It's deep, yet light. It's you working alongside your soul. It's your connecting deeper to spirit. It's you awakened and awakening others. And purpose isn't pain. However, often that's how you find it. It's often searched for through the suffering. Purpose is a reawakening to what you always knew and to who you always were. Purpose is a reawakening to what you always knew and to who you always were. And I just wanted to share that one today. That they were just some words that literally, I think my thumbs in my notes section of my phone were just going psycho for like 5 or 6 minutes. It just kind of came through me without me even putting any of my own actual words to it, if that makes sense, like without my brain getting in the way. And if you have been craving a little bit of a sense of purpose, then I know that this podcast is for you. And I want to also say that just because say you identify your pain, you identify your purpose, you get clear on the thing that you want to spend perhaps your life pursuing, maybe not your life, maybe it's just the next few years, whatever it is, until that next kind of call comes. But say you do identify something incredible for yourself that feels like, yes, this is the thing that I want to do. I just want to say that this doesn't mean that you instantly have to quit your job. It doesn't actually even mean that you need to quit your job or start a business at all. This is the amazing thing about purpose, in that you get to infuse it into what you do right now, right here today. Say, for example, with the example that I gave of recognizing that part of my purpose was helping people find ways out of their struggling and to open up their eyes to what's possible. Like I'm not a psychologist. Yes, I am in coaching, but a lot of my coaching work is focused on business and leadership and team culture. And it wouldn't necessarily be, a straightforward thing for me to be able to bring some of these learnings into the work that I'm doing. But I find little ways here and there. And some days I feel like it's very, very aligned to my purpose. And other days it's just little sprinkles, it's other days it's me sharing during a workshop of some cool new thing that I tried on the weekend, like a breathwork workshop, or going to the brain center and getting some like neuroplasticity work. It sounds like I'm getting like cosmetic treatment or something on my brain. But like sometimes that's me living my purpose, is just sharing my own experiences to help open up other people's eyes to what's possible. So there is always a way to infuse your purpose in tiny little ways into your day, here, right, and now. Sometimes it might just be looking like reading a book on a topic that you're really interested in. Maybe it's signing up to a podcast that's in line with the area that you really care about. Maybe it's going back to uni and studying something. Maybe it's doing a workshop. Maybe it's, if you're in a leadership role in a team, and you don't even have to be in a leadership role, but if you work in a workplace, maybe it's running a workshop on the topic that you care about. Like if the topic that you care about is mental health and motivation, maybe you ask your boss if you could run like a little lunch and learn on that topic so that you can share some of your learnings with others. Maybe if the topic that you care about is climate change and waste reduction, maybe you propose a fancy new recycling system in your workplace. Maybe if you care about childhood trauma and the education system and childhood development, and you're not a teacher, maybe you just share your learnings with your kids, or you find some kids in the neighborhood, and next time you hang out with them, you share something that's important to you with them. There's so many tiny little ways that you can start to point yourself in a more purposeful direction. Because when you are aligned with that purposeful direction, you will feel the difference. You'll feel more aligned. You'll feel more integrated. You'll feel more whole. You'll feel more lit up. You will notice the energy change. You will notice the lightness in your system. You will notice yourself come alive. You will notice your energy start to shift, and you will start to get this kind of like this inspiration and this motivation to move forward. Like that is the art of purpose, and that is the truth of purpose. That the more aligned you are to your true, authentic, purposeful path, the more lit up you will feel. And if right now you are not feeling incredibly lit up, then maybe there's an opportunity for you to pivot, pivot that trajectory ever so slightly. Because as you pursue your purpose work, you will heal your pain. And in turn, the people around you's pain. The greater the pain, the greater the passion. The greater the pain, the greater the fuel. The greater the pain, the greater the fuel for change, right? And don't stop. Don't stop doing the work that you need to do in the world. Don't stop and don't give up, because the world needs your purpose work. It is perhaps the only thing that the world actually needs from you. Everything else is a nice to have. The thing that the world is calling for, that the world really needs, and that your soul is calling you for, is to step into your purpose work, whatever that looks like for you. And that everything else is lovely and beautiful. And I'm not saying don't go out there and just, flap around, because that in itself is really, really important and purposeful too. But if you want to be able to step into and align with your highest path and purpose, the call is there. It's just about when you're ready to accept the call, because there'll be times that you're ready, and there'll be times that you actually just need to step back and retreat a little bit, and that both are fine. This is me just opening up your eyes to what's possible, right? This is me living my purpose by sharing what I know to be true about stepping into your purpose path. What I would say is that when you are ready to tap into that pain and use it as fuel towards purpose, that becomes your fuel to move forward. And the one thing that I know to be true is that purpose is possibly the only thing that I know to be stronger than fear. Because purpose comes from our heart. It's like a heart's calling. It's a heart energy. It's like an energy of service and giving and contribution. And it's what I would call an energy of like connectedness and giving and loving. And the only thing that I know to be stronger than fear is love. It's like when you hear those stories of like parents being able to lift up cars if their kids are trapped under them, like they get this like superhuman strengths because they're like so motivated to care for another person and help and love. It's like this superhuman strength comes over you. Like that's how I would describe the energy of purpose when you're really, really freaking in it. And I feel like my work on this earth is to help connect people and inspire people to step more into their purpose work. Because yes, it can be freaking scary. And I think it's the work that we're all here to do. And it can take a shitload of courage. And there's a whole heap of like belief systems that sometimes need to be unraveled. But once you know what that thing is for you, that will be the fuel that will move you through all of the fears and things holding you back. And that's not to say that it'll be a perfect path forward, but it will definitely help. So I hope you enjoyed some channeled wisdom today about your greatest pain becoming your greatest purpose. If you want the details to my little online purpose course, if this kind of called out to you and you want to take it to the next level, I'll drop the details in the show notes below. I'm sending you so much love. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon, my loves. Thank you so much for listening. If you got value from this episode, I've got a little request for you. Either share it with a fellow leader who you know needs this in their life, or leave a super quick review. It only takes a few seconds, yet it helps us so much in expanding our reach and our impact and bringing on even bigger names onto the potty to then inspire your growth and your journey. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you in advance, and I can't wait to see you next time.